Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the economic engine of Nepal, a nation where black gold isn't oil and where more than half the people work the land. We're going to see just how this Himalayan country connects its ancient agricultural roots to the super fast-paced global market.
So let's kick things off with what is probably the single most important number for understanding Nepal's economy, 54.4%. Yeah, that's right. Over half the entire population relies directly on the land for their livelihood. I mean, think about that. This isn't just one part of the economy. For so many people, it is the economy. It's the foundation of everything.
So how does that foundation actually support everything else? Well, in this explainer, we're going to build the whole picture from the ground up. We'll start with a quick snapshot, then dig into that agricultural heartland, see how industry is taking shape, connect it all to global trade, and finally, take a look at what the future might hold. Okay, let's get into it, starting with that big picture. Before we can really understand where Nepal is headed, we've got to get a handle on the core forces that are driving its economy right now.
The first thing you absolutely have to grasp is that agriculture is officially seen as the engine of growth for the whole country. And look, that's not just some quaint, nice-sounding phrase. It's a real policy-level recognition that basically everything else from factories to services is built on the back of what comes out of its farms.
Now, that economic engine, it doesn't run at the same speed everywhere. Its power is really concentrated in a few key places. Just look at this chart. See those two biggest slices? The super fertile Terai plains, where you find the Koshi and Madhesh provinces, are basically the nation's breadbasket. Together, they're churning out over 40% of the entire agricultural GDP. That's huge. All right, so let's dig a little deeper into that agricultural foundation. It's a really cool story, actually. A mix of staple foods that feed the entire nation and some super rare treasures that are prized all over the world.
So it's probably no surprise that what people grow is what people eat. These three staple grains, we're talking rice, maize, and wheat, they absolutely dominate the fields. They're the bedrock of food security and daily life, with certain districts like Morang and Japa really leading the charge.
And this slide, wow, this just brilliantly illustrates the incredible geographic diversity you find in Nepal. On one hand, you've got districts in the southern plains like Morang and Japa that are pretty much entirely farmland. But then, on the other hand, you have these mountainous districts like Manang and Mustang where finding a patch of land you can actually farm on is like finding gold.
But here's the thing, Nepal's agriculture is about so much more than just basic survival. It's also about high-value products. It starts with something like the beloved mango, which is known all across the country as the king of fruits.
And then you get to the really unique stuff. Take the lapsi, for example. It's this sour fruit they use in all kinds of pickles and candies, and it's found nowhere else on Earth. It's a perfect example of Nepal's one-of-a-kind biodiversity. Pretty amazing, right? And it's not just fruit. These other valuable exports have earned some incredible nicknames that tell you just how important they are economically. You've got the black gold of cardamom, the living gold of Yarzagumba, which is this crazy rare fungus, and even green gold for tea. These names say it all. So you've got all this amazing raw material coming from the land, but that's just step one, right? The crucial next step is transforming it into something else. So let's take a look at how that happens in Nepal's industrial sector.
You know, this industrial journey isn't exactly new. It actually started over 80 years ago. This timeline shows you the real pioneers, the first jute mill, the first bank, the first match factory. These were the businesses that laid the groundwork for the industry we see today, many of them by processing agricultural products.
So what does that industry look like today? Well, it's pretty diverse. If you just count the number of businesses, it's dominated by small-scale operations. But, and this is a big but, look at those employment numbers. The relatively few large industries are incredibly important, employing an average of 136 people each. They're massive job creators.
So where is all this activity happening? Well, it's not just spread out evenly. It's really concentrated in and around the big urban centers, like the Kathiawandi Valley, and these key transportation hubs down in the Terai, like Morang and Rupandehi. And that makes total sense, right? It connects them to both the farms and the cross-border trade routes.
Okay, so we've gone from the farm to the factory. Now for the final step, connecting to the rest of the world. And that's a story told through trade, investment, and of course, tourism.
And this chart, this shows you in no uncertain terms Nepal's single biggest economic challenge.
We're talking about a massive trade deficit. The value of what Nepal imported last year was nearly 10 times the value of what it exported. Just look at that huge gap.
So where is that huge imbalance coming from? Well, it's largely driven by massive imports from its giant neighbor, India. But on the flip side, the place where Nepal actually makes the most profit on its exports is the United States. Trying to balance these two key relationships is a top economic priority. Now, trade isn't the only connection. Tourism is another vital link to the global economy. And just like with trade, geography plays a huge role here. Visitors from neighboring India make up the largest group by a massive margin, followed by travelers coming from farther away, like the US, China, and the UK.
And while tourism is absolutely vital for bringing in foreign currency, this data shows both the challenge and the opportunity. The average tourist stays for just over 13 days and spends about $41 a day. So the big national goal is to increase both of those numbers, to get people to stay longer and experience more high-value things while they're there.
So, after looking at the land, the factories, and the global connections, what's the big takeaway? How does this all piece together?
When you put it all together, the story of Nepal's economy is one of immense agricultural strength and this ongoing, really determined effort to build a modern industrial sector on top of that foundation. It's a classic story of a developing economy, defined by its unique resources and its complex dance with the global market.
And all of this leaves us with one final crucial question for the future. Can Nepal turn its green gold, its black gold, and its one-of-a-kind fruits into an export engine that's powerful enough to close that trade gap? The answer to that question is going to define the next chapter of its economic story. Thanks for watching The Explainer.